Hey guys, welcome back to PhilosoFriday. Today I'm talking about methods and presuppositions. This is an additional section to a philosophy essay that that other subjects do not require. It demonstrates the advantage of philosophy when it comes to critical thinking. In fact, it implies that philosophy is critical thinking and that other subjects generally just use critical thinking loosely at their best, which I have found to be true in reading, even good essays from other subjects. Whereas, you can commit all sorts of logical errors in other subjects, even in the hard sciences on the PhD level. I mean, it's absolutely disgusting. If you commit a single logical fallacy, in essay in philosophy, generally even on the undergrad level, that's like a whole letter grade off. 3 strikes, you're out, bitch. So philosophy is critical thinking. So it's of utmost importance that you know what your opponent means, even if that opponent is not in the room. Philosophy is not about debate, okay? It's about reasoning. So you have to understand your opponent's position before you attack it. Otherwise, you're going to commit a red herring. That's a misrepresentation of your opponent's argument, and then formulate your argument on that basis. This is fallacious reasoning. And this is what all other subjects, especially the humanities, are actually encouraged to do, is to belittle their opponent, not to build the strongest representation of their argument and then attack that. If there's anything left over to attack. But that's what you should do if you're reasoning well, right? So in a philosophy paper, you are required to have a section either before or after the intro called Methods and Presuppositions. This is where you set the groundwork from which you're arguing, on which you are arguing, right? So you're saying, okay, these are the things that I am not questioning, that I'm basing my argument on, and this is how I'm going to argue. This is the route I'm going to take. So you have to lay a foundation and have a blueprint in hand. That's what the methods and presuppositions is. And so this generally involves metaphysical claims of certain sorts. See, on the bachelor's level, if you have to do a thesis for your bachelor degree, you can basically pick any assumption to base your whole argument on. And that's usually sufficient as long as you argue from that basis in a logically consistent manner. On the master's level, there at least has to be an abundance of literature supporting your basis. There has to be good reason to believe that the foundation that you're laying is in some sense true or could be true. But it's not as rigorous as proving a new basis from nothing, which is generally what you should be doing on the PhD level, but that's not always the case. But anyway, so this method and presupposition section, it falls in line with, what we know about argumentation logically. A logical argument has to have 3 parts. An assumption, that's the basis, right? But it's at the top of the argument form if you're looking at argument proof. You have an assumption, and then you have your evidence that you base on your assumption that you're not questioning, that you're taking for granted, that your opponent is, say, not allowed to question by the rules of whatever the rules are if you're writing an essay or whatever. And then from that basis, you have your evidence, you build your body of evidence, and then you logically deduce your conclusion, right? So a lot of what philosophy does is it doesn't really bother with the evidence that much. I mean, there's internal logical consistency that does matter, coherence that matters in an argument. And a lack of coherence will prove your argument to be wrong. But even an abundance of coherence internally doesn't prove it wholly true. You have to go back to the assumption. You have to go back and look at what it is that you're not questioning that forms the basis of your argument. What logically must be true in order for any of your evidence to hold at all. So that's And then how are you going to do that? What's your route? That's the method and presupposition section of an essay. But the reason I'm doing this on PhilosoFriday is not because I want to promote going and getting your bachelor's degree in philosophy. Don't do that. Seriously, the university as we know it is over. Don't go there. But you can apply this in everyday conversation, in everyday life, in everyday problem solving. Okay, is there a very basic thing that I'm assuming is true that I'm basing all of my research on that could be wrong? Go back to square one. Check your foundation. What are you not questioning? See, at its best, that's what philosophy helps you to do, is actually think critically, like be critical of your own assumptions. And if you can question that, then a world of growth can come from that. So that's PhilosoFriday on methods and presuppositions. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope it was clear. Let me know if not, and I'll do my best to clarify. But I think that about covers it. Until next time, cheers.